Welcome back to my spoilers channel. Today we will learn about the explosive developments brewing in the world of the bold and the beautiful, where family loyalties are being tested, dangerous alliances are forming, and the shadow of manipulation looms larger than ever before. The dangerous dance of deception. The tension in Los Angeles has reached unprecedented levels as Sheila Carter once again demonstrates her remarkable ability to say one thing while planning something entirely different. In what should surprise absolutely no one familiar with her checkered history, Sheila has wasted no time in breaking her solemn promise to Deacon Sharp regarding Luna Nozawa. The ink had barely dried on her verbal contract when Sheila began orchestrating a clandestine meeting with her newly discovered granddaughter, proving once again that leopards, particularly those with Sheila's spotted past, rarely change their spots. What makes this particular betrayal so fascinating is not the act itself, but rather the speed with which it occurred. Most people might at least pretend to honor their word for a respectable period before reverting to type, but Sheila Carter has never been one to waste time on social niceties. Her biological connection to Luna seems to have awakened something primal in her, a desire to forge a relationship that transcends the boundaries of conventional morality or previous commitments. Luna, for her part, appears absolutely thrilled by this forbidden connection. When Sheila extended the invitation to her apartment for what can only be described as a grandmother-granddaughter conspiracy session, Luna's response was immediate and enthusiastic. There's something particularly chilling about witnessing the younger woman's eagerness to embrace a relationship that must be kept hidden from Deacon. A man who, despite his own checkered past, seems to recognize the danger Sheila poses to impressionable minds. Generational manipulation, a family tradition. The apartment meeting between Sheila and Luna represents more than just a family reunion. It's the beginning of what could be described as an unholy apprenticeship. As they settle into their secret conversation, the true nature of their relationship begins to emerge. This isn't about baking cookies or sharing family stories. It's about strategy, manipulation, and the ruthless pursuit of desires regardless of who stands in the way. Luna's fixation on Will Spencer has taken center stage in their discussions. Despite Will's clear lack of interest, having already rejected Luna's surprisingly forward proposition for a casual physical relationship, Luna refuses to accept this rejection as final. The fact that Will is already committed to another woman registers as merely an inconvenient obstacle rather than a reason for restraint or self-reflection. What unfolds next is perhaps one of the most disturbing aspects of their interaction. Sheila begins to share her lifetime of manipulation tactics with her impressionable granddaughter. With the casual air of someone passing down a cherished family recipe, Sheila begins to outline strategies that have served her well throughout her notorious life. This is what grandmothers are for, she suggests with a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes as she begins to detail approaches that have left a trail of broken lives in her wake. The generational transmission of these toxic skills raises profound questions about nature versus nurture. Is Luna drawn to these manipulative tactics because of some genetic predisposition inherited from Sheila, or is she simply a product of her environment? Raised by what she describes as a wild single mom without proper guidance? The answer likely lies somewhere in the complicated middle, where biology and biography intersect to create a person capable of justifying increasingly troubling behavior. The echo chamber of history. While Sheila and Luna plot in secretive whispers, across town another family drama unfolds with striking parallels. Steffi Forrester Finnegan finds herself in the unenviable position of having to repeatedly demand that her husband, John Finn Finnegan, maintain distance from Luna, his biological daughter. The situation bears an uncanny resemblance to Steffi's previous demands regarding Sheila herself, creating a sense of déjà vu that must be both frustrating and frightening for a woman who has fought so hard to protect her family from Sheila's influence. Finn's internal conflict manifests in ways that reveal the depth of his character. He acknowledges his promises to Steffi, promises made in good faith and with genuine intention, but cannot ignore the gravitational pull of biological connection to Luna. His belief that his presence in Luna's formative years, might have prevented her current behavioral issues reveals his deep-seated guilt and sense of paternal responsibility. If I had been there to raise her, he laments in moments of private reflection, she would have turned out differently. This sentiment, while understandable, reveals a certain naivety on Finn's part. The nature versus nurture debate is complex enough without adding Sheila Carter's genetics to the equation. His belief that his influence alone could have counteracted both potential genetic predispositions and the influence of Luna's mother represents a touching but perhaps overly simplistic view of human development. Promises written in sand. The parallels between Sheila and Finn's situations create a fascinating psychological study that goes beyond mere coincidence. Both have made promises they likely never intended to keep, or at the very least, promises they find impossible to honor when faced with the pull of biological connection. Sheila's inability to stay away from Luna mirrors Finn's struggle to distance himself from both his daughter and his mother, creating a complex web of deception and denial that threatens the stability of multiple relationships. Steffi's firm stance, putting her foot down once again with increasing frustration, seems almost futile in the face of such powerful biological connections. Her repeated demands echo through time, reminiscent of her previous ultimatums regarding Sheila that ultimately proved ineffective. There's something almost tragic about watching a woman of Steffi's intelligence and strength having to repeat the same boundaries, knowing on some level that history is likely to repeat itself despite her best efforts. The psychological concept of repetition compulsion comes to mind. The tendency to recreate traumatic situations in an unconscious attempt to gain mastery over them. Steffi finds herself once again trying to erect boundaries between her family and Sheila's influence, while Finn once again finds himself torn between loyalty to his wife and the pull of biological connection. The players may have shifted slightly with Luna's introduction, but the fundamental dynamics remain disturbingly familiar. The externalization of responsibility. Perhaps most troubling in this unfolding drama is Luna's tendency to deflect responsibility for her actions. Rather than acknowledging her own agency and the ethical implications of pursuing a man who has clearly rejected her advances and is committed to someone else, she points to her upbringing by a wild single mom as the source of her destructive behaviors. This externalization of blame is a trait she seems to share with Sheila, suggesting that some characteristics may indeed be hereditary. Though perhaps not in the way Finn hopes. This deflection serves a crucial psychological purpose for both women. By attributing their questionable choices to external factors, be it upbringing, circumstances, or the actions of others, they free themselves from the burden of moral responsibility. This cognitive maneuver allows them to pursue their desires without the inconvenient weight of conscience, creating a dangerous combination of entitlement and amorality that bodes ill for anyone who stands in their way. The gathering storm. As these family dynamics continue to evolve, there are ominous signs that Sheila and her descendants may soon find themselves in circumstances where they need each other more than ever. The foundation for an unholy alliance is being laid, brick by troubling brick, as these three generations of complicated individuals navigate their intertwined destinies. What makes this situation particularly volatile is the combination of Sheila's manipulative expertise, Luna's willingness to learn these dark arts, and Finn's inability to maintain appropriate boundaries. As these characters continue down their current paths, collision seems inevitable, and the fallout promises to be spectacular in its destructive potential. Will Spencer, currently oblivious to the schemes being hatched against him, may soon find himself the unwitting target of a grandmother-granddaughter conspiracy. His girlfriend, whoever she may be, stands directly in Luna's path, a dangerous place to be when Sheila Carter is providing strategic advice. The history of Sheila's previous victims suggests that being an obstacle to her desires, or now, by extension, to Luna's desires, rarely ends well. The psychological underpinnings. The psychological dynamics at play in this unfolding drama are rich with complexity. Sheila's desire to connect with Luna likely stems from more than simple familial affection. For a woman with Sheila's history of manipulation and control, Luna represents not just a granddaughter but a potential legacy, someone who might carry forward her approach to life long after Sheila herself is gone. There's something almost immortality-seeking in her eagerness to impart her manipulative wisdom. For Luna, the connection to Sheila offers something equally valuable: validation. In Sheila, Luna has found someone who not only accepts her questionable moral compass but actively encourages it. After presumably spending years being judged for behaviors similar to those Sheila now endorses, this acceptance must feel like coming home, a dangerous homecoming to be sure, but a homecoming nonetheless. Finn, caught between these powerful women and his commitment to Steffi, embodies the classic psychological conflict between desire and duty. His professional training as a doctor might give him intellectual insight into the dynamics at play, but emotional intelligence and intellectual understanding are often worlds apart when biological connections exert their powerful influence. The inevitable confrontation. As we watch these storylines unfold, one thing becomes abundantly clear: in this world of passion and deception, promises are made to be broken, and family ties can be both a sanctuary and a prison. The coming days will test the strength of these relationships as never before, forcing each character to decide just how far they're willing to go for what or whom they desire. The stage is set for a dramatic confrontation that will likely leave no one unscathed. As Sheila, Luna, and Finn each pursue their own agendas, the rest of Los Angeles can only brace for the inevitable storm that follows when a Carter sets their mind to something or someone. The collateral damage from such pursuits has historically been substantial, and there's little reason to believe this time will be different. For viewers who have followed Sheila's trajectory over the years, there's a certain fatalistic fascination in watching history repeat itself through a new generation. Will Luna ultimately follow in her grandmother's footsteps, or will some intervention, perhaps from Finn or even Deacon, alter her course? Can patterns established over decades be broken? Or are we witnessing the inexorable pull of both nature and nurture combining to create a perfect storm of manipulation and desire? As Wednesday's episode approaches, these questions hang in the air, creating a tension that speaks to the enduring power of the bold and the beautiful to explore the darkest corners of human relationships. In a world where beauty is often only skin deep, the true boldness lies in the willingness of characters like Sheila to pursue their desires regardless of the cost, and in our willingness as viewers to follow them into the moral abyss, fascinated by the darkness we glimpse there.